Feeling a little bit fed up this week, I'm not going to lie to you. I just feel a little bit helpless. Have you ever felt like that? Like you feel really, really, really small and like everything you're doing is just making no difference whatsoever, no matter how hard you try. I just feel like there could be about 5,000 of me all doing the same things and it just wouldn't make any impact whatsoever. 5,000. Imagine 5,000 of me. Oh, that doesn't sound like a good idea, does it? 5,000. I'm sure there's a story in our Bible about the number 5,000. Can you have a think? Do you remember any stories in the Bible that use that number?
Jesus had been preaching and teaching and telling stories. The crowd had gathered, but they started to get really hungry and they started to complain. So Jesus called his disciples and said, "Go and see if any of the crowd have any food to share. We need to feed them." The disciples went round and asked everybody. They didn't seem to be having much luck until a little boy with his lunchbox. Well, he was willing to share what he had. He only had 5 loaves and 2 small fish, but he gave it to the disciples. He trusted that Jesus could do something with his small lunchbox. And he did. As Jesus blessed the bread and the fish, it multiplied so that everybody was not only fed, but full too, and there were leftovers.
Of course, it was the feeding of the 5,000. And wow, that small boy only had a tiny little lunchbox and he was able to feed 5,000 people. In fact, our Bible says 5,000 men, which says to me that there may have been more women and children, so it could have been 5,000 plus people. When the disciples first went round and were asking people if they had any food, I'm pretty sure that small boy was probably feeling even smaller and a little bit helpless. How could he possibly feed all of these people? Was it even worth him saying the food that he had in his lunchbox? 5 loaves and 2 small fish. And I wouldn't have imagined these loaves were like big family loaves. They're probably more like little bread rolls. 5 of them and 2 small fish. But what he had, he gave to Jesus, and Jesus blessed him. And they multiplied so that everybody was not just fed, but full, and there were leftovers. How amazing is that? But how does that relate to us today? We can't change 5 loaves and 2 fish into something to feed 5,000 people in the way that Jesus did. However, we can give the small things that we've got. I always say this, that we can't change the world, but we can change our world around us. And if everybody did that, how amazing would it be? Sometimes we might feel really small and like our actions don't have a big impact, but they definitely do. And with God's blessing, they definitely do. So let's have a little think about those small things that we're doing that we need to keep on doing. So your challenge this week is to praise God for all of the small things which you are able to do. Because if everybody did all of those small things, we would help create a better earth and a bigger picture.